I'll tell you what I'm having for dinner tonight. So it's my kids' favorite. It is roll your own sushi, which is like, it's a cheating. I'm just a total, like a travesty to any real sushi chef will be appalled and horrified. But it's really fun. I just make a huge bunch of rice and I season it with a little bit of rice vinegar and salt and a little bit of honey. So it's, you know, sort of my own version of sushi rice, and then we just let that cool and lay it out with big sheets of nori that people can cut up into any shape they want, and then vegetables and you know, if you like meat, you can put whatever meat you want in there, you know, sort of like scrambled egg. My kids love smoked oysters and sardines, so they put those in theirs. But it's really simple and it's a fun social meal. So the Buy Nothing Project is an international network of hyper-local gift economies that are based online. Right now each of them exists online as a Facebook group, but the real activity of each of these groups actually happens in real life in the hyper-local neighborhood that each group is devoted to. We want to be connected. We want meaning. We want lives of meaning. We want to be connected. We want to matter. And we don't get that through stuff. What we get that through is through stories and through building a shared narrative with people that we actually meet and get to know. What happens is you find your most local Buy Nothing group, and we specifically restrict membership in each group to people who actually live in the boundaries of that group. So it doesn't matter so much for our purposes where you work or where all of your friends are or the neighborhood that you identify most with. It's where you live. We really want to help people connect with their real life neighbors, and in a lot of cases none of us, or a lot of people don't know their real life neighbors. We know people we work with, or we know people we go to school with, or we know the neighborhood we want to move to, or we know where our friends live. But what we're after is something a little bit different than that, and it's really building networks between people who you could really go in the middle of the night and get help from if you needed it. How outlandish is it that this person I don't know is asking me, well, where do you really live? Like, you don't have to give me your street address, but give me, you know, the 2 closest cross streets, because we're serious about it. This needs to be a hyper-local group in order for that sort of transparency and honesty and trust to build, for people to count on that. It has to be based on something real, and it has to be based on, it's in our groups, it's based on where we live. That's it. So the network, so you go to Facebook and you look up your neighborhood name and find our Facebook group there and join it. And we have volunteer admins. In fact, our whole structure is staffed by volunteers. We don't have anyone who's paid at all. And the admin will double check with you that you actually live in within this group's region, and then you join. Once you're approved into the group, you can offer things that are freely given with no strings attached at all and no expectation of any future payback in any form. You can ask for things given that way from other people, and you can share your gratitude for things that you've received in the group. So those are sort of the main 3 things. We call it our GAG rule: give, ask, and gratitude. So those are the 3 things you can do in our groups. Right now we have, in one of our groups, we have 2 different people who are putting together Buy Nothing weddings. So there are people who really have wanted to get married, and for some time they've been putting it off because it seems too expensive to them. So they've joined their group and they've realized that there are all these things being loaned and shared and offered, and so they're collecting up their, you know, dresses, decorations, glasses, silverware, plates, tables, entertainment in some cases, you know, promises of help and advice, you know, people who are coming, sort of, you know, helping them set things up or answering questions, meeting with them in person and talking about this. So that's sort of a seasonal one. It's summer, so that's something that's on people's minds. We have people who ask each other for rides when they need to go someplace because maybe they have limited transportation options where they live. We have people who sometimes cook too much food for dinner and they offer their leftovers, or they cook too much intentionally and they offer a second casserole to their neighbors. And then we have all of the standard stuff-related posts. I mean, we're swimming in this material culture, so you can, I mean, almost any item you've ever touched has been offered or asked for and received within one of our groups. So it's from everything from a roll of toilet paper to literally a boat. We had somebody finally offer a boat. We had someone offer a kitchen sink yesterday. We have, I mean, everything, really, every item. So we have a decentralized lending library model. So we ask anybody who has something that they have to loan, they just get to post it. Like, you write up a little post. In my case, I have, I think I had something like 200 small glasses left over from my wedding over 10 years ago that were just sitting in my garage. And I thought, well, I'll just loan those out. So I took a picture of them and I've loaned them out. And they've gone to city council meetings and weddings and parties and memorial services and picnics and preschool events and all sorts of things now. And I do the same with a whole bunch of cloth napkins. So I loan things like that out, and other people are doing the same thing. So instead of needing a centralized location with paid staff and a bunch of overhead, we just have people loaning things out person to person. So I can say, like, you know, well, these are my napkins and you want to borrow them, you post. Everybody in the whole group can see that I'm loaning them. Everybody can see who's borrowing them. So there's a sense of accountability there, which makes it a little less worrisome for people to loan things out that they care about. And I do things like that, and I find that very rewarding. But I think for me, like, the best thing I've gotten out of all of this is all of these people that I have in my life now that I would probably not have met otherwise. Because what happens is we ask people to use full sentences in their posts and to actually say something about themselves. Like, if I post this table, and I will say, like, I'm going to give this table away, but I want you to tell me your best family dinner memory. And so everybody will write in and, you know, share their best family dinner memory, and we get to read these things about each other. And so you'll start to see people who have, you know, a similar sense of humor, or who just have a really interesting outlook on life, or who have these fascinating experiences. And I've met people by learning about them online and then just connecting with them in person. I'll give something away and they'll come and get it, or they'll give something to me and we'll end up meeting. And then we have periodic book nights, actually, at the local brewery, where we say it's, you know, it's the books and beer night. Come, you know, bring a couple books that you want to give away, get yourself a beer. We'll all be upstairs. It's a family friendly place, so people can bring kids. You can bring your own food in. So we all meet up there and just get to know each other in person. I mean, there are all of these sort of gifts of self, I think of them as, happening now in groups. People start with stuff and then it moves to sharing their time and literally just themselves with each other. I don't have today's numbers because it changes so quickly. So as of about a month ago, we had 175 groups in 4 different countries and over 25,000 people in those groups. But yesterday we had our first group founded in Manila in the Philippines. And so now we have groups in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, and the Philippines now. And they're all run by volunteer admins who live in their neighborhood, and they start their own neighborhood group. So they're dealing with their real life neighbors.
Well, my brother Brian and I had an opportunity to move back to Bainbridge after several years away last fall. I have always liked living light. Several years ago, I lived in a house that, while I was away, was broken into, and what wasn't taken was trashed. And ever since then, I've developed sort of a horror of having a lot of permanent possessions. So the Buy Nothing project really fit my personal aesthetic. And so when the two of us moved here, there were a lot of basic things we needed. lamps, coffee maker, kitchenware, some bathroom stuff, shelving, and for the most part, I put the call out on Buy Nothing, and people came through. What I try and do once in a while, and I actually haven't done this in longer than I would prefer, but every now and then I would take half a day off from my own work and say, I'm going to make deliveries for people who can't get out and pick up the stuff that they've claimed, or people who want to get a bunch of stuff off their front porch, and so they'll give me names and addresses, and I'll just go run around and deliver stuff for 3, 4, 5 hours. So there's that. I've responded to calls to help jumpstart cars. I've responded to calls to help people move. Someone needs a ride. Somebody needs this very specific book that I can dig out of my storage. I have less than most people materially, but one thing I do have that a lot don't have is flexibility of time. I don't have to, my life isn't revolve around kids. So I try and recognize that and put it to use when necessary. And I've also been able to integrate my brother into the community. He's back here for the first time in 8 or 9 years, and it was very important. He's not able to work, but it was very important to have him meet people, make friends, generate goodwill, and find things to do. So I think we fairly successfully established him as somebody who will go out and do some day labor for you. Just to get to know people and feel like he's being of service. And I think that's been he just mentioned to me a little while ago how it boosts his self-confidence and makes him feel better, which there's a healthy dose of self-interest for me. It lightens my load where he's concerned. So that's a big win all around. Oh, yeah. I just happened to be on Facebook when your friend Kat put out the call, and I noticed that the first person to click like on it is the owner of this house that I'm renting, Mark Zoker. And so he and I had a little back channel conversation. I said, well, we've got the empty room here, and I'm happy to share it if you feel like that's something you're comfortable with. And he said, by all means, go for it. So I felt like we knew that we could offer you a place you could come and go on your own without any strictures. So why not? I mean, bedroom's just sitting there gathering dust otherwise. Take every asset you have and put it to use. It's an inviolate principle. Bainbridge has a reputation of being the rich people's place, which I would say most of the Buy Nothing Bainbridge people, more than 3,000 strong, would dispute. A lot of us, every day there's a post, I need, baby clothes, I don't have a bed for my child, I don't have these basic things. There's a lot of need out there, and I think Buy Nothing Bainbridge does sort of the ancillary public service of putting a more diverse face on the island than, the beautiful homes and gardens type of facade that you see in the real estate brochures. We just we talk, and like anybody meets, let's go out for a beer, let's go get a cup of coffee, let's sit down for 45 minutes and figure out what our commonalities are. And generally they turn out to be quite a few. For whatever reason, I find that I connect with a lot of people in my age range. I'm 48 years old, and I would say most of the people I meet, we have a lot of generational commonalities, generational sensibilities and values, and it's really nice to connect with that.